Alrighty, okay, in this video we're going to talk about strokes, fills, gradients, that would be linear and radial, as well as gradient feather. Alright, so let's get started. Let's start with strokes and fills. So as you can see, I have these three objects right here. I have the name, so I have some text, I have a simple square and a circle. So you can fill your name with a color, of course. So you would select your name, or you select the text. You would go over to your swatch palette, and of course you have your fill. So let's just fill this with 100% magenta. So you can see you have your fill. Straightforward. You guys already know this. But now you can also stroke it. You can stroke text. So if we click on the stroke option, we can give it a stroke value. Let's say we'll give it blue. All right. So as you can see, it strokes it on the outside, and I will zoom in so you can see this. All right. So now let's take a look and see how it exactly strokes it. I said on the outside, but let's take a look and see. So we take a look at the stroke value. By default, it comes up with 1. And yes, you can see right here, it strokes it on the outside. But you also have an option to stroke it on center. All right, that's stroking on center. That's stroking on outside. Okay, so that's how you can take care of your stroke and your fill. And actually, you really don't even have to highlight it. If you just select the text frame, all right, you can just select the text frame, all right. Then you can go over to the swatch option, and then you can select the little T right here, and you can say, all right, there's the outline or the stroke value. Come over here, and I can change that to 2 without even selecting the actual text itself. So you can actually see what's going on without having to click off and click on. So that's stroke and fill with text. Let's take a look and see how we handle it with objects. So again, very straightforward. You can click on it. You can fill it with, we fill it with a color. You can stroke it. All right. Now, let's go back to stroke values. If you notice, we have three values available to us right here. By default, when you stroke on an object, it strokes on the center, on center. But then you also have stroking it on the inside, and then you can stroke it on the outside. So let's just bump this up to 6 so you can actually see what's going on. So let's say, for example, right now it strokes on the outside, here it strokes on the inside, and here it strokes on center. All right, so that's how you can fill and stroke, and that's how you can modify how you're going to stroke your object. So for this exercise, let's just keep it on the inside. All right, and then another thing you can do is you can also take care of your gradients on fills and strokes as well. So let's say, for example, we have the frame selected. We're going to click on gradient, and as you can see, it created a gradient on the actual stroke value. All right, and then if we bring the fill forward, we can click here and we can actually create a gradient on the fill as well. One of the things we can do is we can modify the fill. Like right now it's a linear and it's black. So what we're going to do is I pulled the gradient dialog box out of the dock so that I could work with the swatches and the dialog box simultaneously. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to, as I have the gradient fill of black or gray, I'm going to take that magenta color and I'm going to change the gradient from magenta going down to this no color right here. And then I can also take it and I can take another color and I can pull it over here and I can say, okay, well now we'll have it where, let's see, we can have it so it goes from color to color. All right, so now you have color to color gradient on the fill and you have a gradient on the stroke. All right, so now one more thing I want to show you is I want to show you the gradient feather. All right, and the gradient feather is basically, it feathers to nothing. All right, and then we're going to talk about in future, and actually in a future video, we're going to talk about the difference between a tint and an opaque value. All right, so now what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take off the stroke altogether so that there will be no stroke, and I'm actually going to give the fill a solid color. So there's going to be no gradient. And what I'll do now, since I'm not going to be working with the gradient, I'll just take that and put that right back in the dock. So it's out of the way. So now I'm going to take this circle down here, and I'm going to give it a fill of blue. And as you can see, with the stacking order, the blue is in front of the magenta. So if I click on the magenta, and if I go up to Object and I go to Arrange, I can say Bring to Front, and now you can see the magenta is on top of or in front of the blue. I'm just going to extend this down a little bit, and I'm going to show you how the gradient feather works. So now we've seen the gradient. The gradient goes from to, but the gradient feather, what it does is it goes from solid to nothing. So if I click on the gradient feather right here, I bring this little, it looks like crosshairs, somewhere just maybe below the center. Put my finger on the Shift key, click and drag. You can see what it's doing is it's taking the color and it's actually feathering out to nothing to reveal the color behind it. All right, so then if you can see right here, you see you have this color magenta is actually feathering out to nothing, exposing the blue shape behind it. And if I pull this down a little bit, you can see that what it's doing now is just the actual feather value hasn't changed, but as I extend the frame itself, it starts to cover up more of the object behind it. All right, so that is stroke, fills, gradients, linear, and radial. Oh, we didn't do radial. Let's take a look at radial real quick. Get rid of the actual rectangle. We'll pull this up, and let's take a look at the radial gradient. So I'm going to bring back the gradient, and as you can see right now, I'll pull it out again. The default, I'm going to click on this to fill it. The default is linear. So when I go to radial, you can see it radiates outwards from the center, which would be the blue, going out to the magenta. I can switch it. I can reverse it. So we have the blue, we have the magenta fading out to the blue. Or it's the gradient going from the magenta from the center out to the blue. And then if you take the gradient tool, you can say, all right, if you take the little crosshairs and I place it anywhere on this circle and I pull it out, then you can notice it looks like we have this gradient that's starting from the upper right hand corner going to the blue, and subsequently I can do it just the other way as well. I can do it any way I want, and it kind of simulates. It gives you the effect of dimension. So that's how you can work with the gradient linear and the gradient radial blends.